Hi everyone, welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting of the 6th of August 2025. Hello, I'm joined here by uh, my fellow Node.js TSC members and joined plus Joe, plus Giuseppe. Hello, hi Joe, thank you for coming. Okay, and yeah, so I think we can get started. Okay, let's. Yes, thank you very much. If somebody help with the minutes, every help is usually very welcome. So first announcement, I think it's fantastic. I want to congratulate to all the people that worked on shipping Node 22.18 that has TypeScript support unflagged. So congrats. 18 is out with DS. Stripping support. Okay, the next one is remember to book your trip for JSConf US if you plan to come with a collaborator discount. If you haven't bought them yet. Okay. Other announcements. Rafael, do you know, or anybody, what is the cutoff time for the 25 major changes?
Per policy, a month prior to the release. I need to check on the release working group.
Okay, because you see, if it's the beginning of October, we are probably close and we probably remember people.
Yeah, okay. I will make sure to mention it in the next meeting.
Okay. Send your December major PRs for Node.js 25. Okay. So then quick reminder to nominate people for the contributor spotlight. And yay, go for it. Joe, are there any updates from the CPC?
We met yesterday and spent a bit of time talking about like the data retention, data policy stuff. We want to touch base with the board and perhaps more importantly, touch base with legal. But we're going to work on getting that clearer and make sure everything's copacetic there.
Sorry, you mentioned the data. I lost the word.
Data retention, the data policy.
Oh, retention.
Yeah. GDPR and different.
Yeah.
There are a few different angles to it, whether it's code of conduct and whatnot. So we want to clarify all that and make sure it's all good. And I think that's largely it. We helped the team work on the new contributor covenants, the version 3 of that, and it was released maybe a week ago. And so we are going to do some work to move to that version. And then we're also just trying to gather together things like the COC update and any other updates that we should be circulating to maintainers and projects, and try to gather that all to communicate soon as well. I think that's mostly it. That's mostly what we worked on yesterday, that's for sure.
Cool, amazing. Board update. Everything is fine. We have started working. I think very soon we'll start working on the budget for the next year. Okay, we'll keep everybody updated essentially on that front. Cool. Next one up is Node.js build require physical 2FA for build UG and web infra members. And I don't know where this was stuck. Somebody?
Okay, this was originally open on the build. Actually, it's still in the build repo and was discussed in the build working group meetings. So this actually came from the web infra people with a proposal to require two-factor authentication. As far as we know, it's not actually possible in GitHub to make that a requirement. So it can be a recommendation, but it can't be a requirement because I don't think GitHub differentiates between physical 2FA and other types of 2FA, but it does have what it considers to be less secure or insecure 2FA, which is like SMS messages. So one of the things that was asked in that issue was, should the org, the whole Node.js org, discourage or disallow insecure two-factor authentication? So we already require two-factor authentication for everyone in the Node.js org, but I think you can tighten that further and disallow the insecure, or what GitHub thinks are insecure methods. But that I think someone did do a query, and there's quite a few people that still have SMS allowed or active on their accounts. So that'd be quite a fast sweeping policy change. But basically, from the point of view of an actual requirement, the most we can do as an org as a whole, rather than just build and the web infra, is to tighten the GitHub org settings on like membership, and that would be something for us to consider on behalf of the project as a whole. Sorry, I say us as in the TSC rather than the build working group. The build working group basically for this one said we'd recommend physical 2FA, but we can't actually enforce it. We have no way of enforcing it or actually requiring it. So that
it can only be an org-wide decision, or can it be for specific teams?
In terms of tightening the 2FA requirement, so there's an org setting for requiring everyone in the org to have 2FA enabled, which we have on. So if you join the Git Node, you have 2FA on. I believe this is a while since I looked. I believe there is a further setting to disallow. I think they call it insecure 2FA.
Yeah.
Which is SMS messages. We don't have that on currently, and the current search is that there will be quite a few people that would have to, take an action in order to have that enabled. So that, I guess, is why that's been moved over.
But okay.
So it's a discussion point as to, is that something we want as a project to tighten up the security, or is that something we say, okay, no, we're happy with the current 2FA requirements, and people want to use SMS messages. Maybe there are good reasons for it in certain places. I don't know, but yeah, I am guessing that's why.
It's a fallback. Let me speak for myself. It's a fallback. Okay, if it's a fallback, that's what it is. Okay, it's and it's not as easy. Like in certain countries, it's very easy to get your number transferred without your own will. Okay, in Italy, it's pretty tied up. That's not possible. Okay.
So I guess the question is like, do we just dismiss that as saying we're not actually going to change anything, and then we can take take this off the agenda, or do we want to keep this open for a bit for discussion? I don't mind. This is just about is there anything we can actually do to make this or tighten up the security? And I think the build working group's position was that the build working group itself couldn't do anything other than like recommend or encourage, but there was no actual practical enforcement mechanism, and the only thing that could be enforced would be to tighten up the org membership to the FA of things, which it wasn't within the build working group's remit to recommend changing something org-wise. So that's, I think, why that's been pushed over to the TSC.
I have a
discussion there, and it's not like the build is asking for this. This is like, on consideration of the original request, the only practical thing we think that could be done is this, but that's a TSC decision, not a build working group decision.
Sorry, I have a question. Okay, enforcing that would it mean that whoever has SMS enabled will be kicked out, or what it will entail?
I don't know, because I can't remember what happened when we originally turned on 2FA. Did that?
It was kicking out whoever was not
So
using that
maybe, yes,
person.
that would probably kick out the people that don't, that still have that enabled. And when we looked, there was quite, it was in double
do you
digits.
know where that, okay. Shendong.
I'm wondering if there were any discussion about why physical 2FA is going to be proposed in the issue, because I know that people are about using softwares like 1Password to manage their 2FA, which I think is also a good use.
Yeah, so this specifically came out of the web infra team saying that they were looking at the infrastructure they have available, they have control over, which I think is like Vercel, and I can't remember if they have Cloudflare or not, but basically they have access to things which are deemed to be, important, critical, and they were looking at how they control access. So they were discussing requiring physical hardware, and then they said, well, it should probably apply to the build infra as well. So they opened the issue on the build repo, and I think it's one of those things that at least I as an individual member of the build working group, I'm not super keen on it as a requirement. I can understand sort of saying, if you've got access to one, then we encourage you to use it. But I mean, it's quite restrictive. I see it as actually discouraging participation on things that, at least in build, we need more participation in. And yeah, I feel this is one of those things which is like, I feel hardware 2FA is really inconvenient. But the problem is it's hard to argue against it, because if your whole reason for it is security, then there's a line of thought that the more inconvenient it is, the more secure it is. But I don't know. So this has not come out of the build working group. This was a proposal to the build working group. And we just looked at each other, said like, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? And then it was well, even if we thought it was a good idea, can we even enforce this? And the answer is no. There is nothing we can do to force someone, an individual, to use a hardware token. So yeah,
yeah, thank you. So from what I can understand here is that the only insecure method of 2FA is the SMS 2FA, right?
I think as far as GitHub is concerned, so we were looking in the GitHub UI to see, is there any way we could, like, for certain groups, force like hardware 2FA, and that doesn't look to be possible. And it looks like the only thing is an org-wise setting, which we already have on for like requiring 2FA, and then there's an additional option, which I think they just call it less secure or insecure 2FA, which I understand includes SMS. I don't know if there's anything else included in there. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I think GitHub throws SMS and OTP into the same less secure bucket, which is rightfully so. We shouldn't be talking about physical security here. We're talking about, or we should be talking about, phishing resistant one, which doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be hardware based or physical based. With the introduction of passkeys into every single browser, you have phishing resistant MFA available for everyone who has a web browser. And that is something that is enforceable by GitHub. I would hope so, that 2FA in that case, and Richard is smiling, so maybe not.
I don't know. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. So let's not label this as requiring hardware or physical security. We're looking for non-phishable one. So OTP and SMS is highly phishable. The outcome must not mean only physical. It just means phishing resistant. And that includes passkeys, which are bound to the domain that you're authenticating at. and they're available to everybody. If you've got a modern browser, passkeys are available for you.
Matteo, you're muted.
Is there anything else, Philip, or no? Good. Okay, Joy.
About the question about like what would happen if we force the secure two-factor, I think from the screenshot that Ryan posted in the issue is that if we enforce this, people who do not have secure two-factor will probably be unable to access resources owned by the organization, whatever that means, but they will still be a member of that organization. So I don't know what that means effectively, but I think they will probably not be kicked out. They will just be unable to, like, if there's some authentication requests going on, GitHub will say no. And regarding the proposal itself, I don't know much about this one in particular, but I do know that in Chromium and V8, they are requiring all the committers to have physical, like secure passkeys installed. Like you need to have, for example, YubiKey. If you were previously signing into your committer account using like iCloud passkey or something, that will no longer be enough. So they're rolling it out to all the committers. I think already has been rolled out to Chromium and will be rolled out to VA in Q3 this year. So they are definitely, I suppose they definitely have some pretty good reason behind it, but it's already something that also happening in, well, a similar part of our code base.
Paolo?
Sorry, I just have a quick question for Philip. When you say that the passkeys are secure, right? You mean both those in the browser and also those via third-party provider like 1Password? Because I have mine in 1Password as passkey provider, basically. Pretty much the same, right?
Yes, if 1Password is a certified passkey provider, then yeah, they are handling the key material correctly. I don't know if they store it using. Actually, it doesn't really matter. What Joey said about V8 is also right, that there are different types of passkeys. Passkeys is a generic term; it's not the actual technical term. What you've got are authenticators, and there are roaming authenticators, and then there are built-in authenticators. A built-in authenticator is something you have in your browser. Roaming authenticator is something like passkey, but could also be the one that you have in your browser if it is being synced with your browser profile. Then there are also passkey vendors that are bound to a physical device like a YubiKey. The important bit there is that it's phishing resistant. Therefore, the authenticator will not pop up for you to use an existing key on a domain that you didn't authenticate for. So you can't set up a phishing website and expect people to use their authenticator there. It won't work.
Paolo, Philip, can you fill in your minutes because I totally lost it. Okay, so I think we are good with this. Okay, I don't think there is anything else for now, but I think we should keep the discussion going probably. Should we move the issue to the TSC repo or admin repo even? What are the next step anyway?
I can do that. Yeah, I can move the issue and sort of recommend that we sort of update the title or something so it talks about phishing resistance rather than just or I can recommend back to the web infra team that if you want to investigate hardware tokens, do it within your own group. But we can't enforce that. And then the other discussion about tightening org-wide security could be another issue. But yeah, leave that with me. I'll figure out what to do with this.
Yeah. To be honest, I would recommend them, but
yeah. No,
it's
I
up
mean,
to them.
Yeah, it feels very draconian, but and then I don't. Yeah, it's security is one of those things that's really hard to argue
Yeah.
unless you're someone like Philip that seems to have a better handle on the actual domain problem.
Okay. Something that I can add that was mentioned though in the issue that we didn't talk is I don't think the foundation has any money to provide for YubiKeys for everybody. So
no, I don't think the original ask was for everyone. The original ask was for a subset of the infra teams.
I would put it another way.
Yeah.
The foundation has no money.
Yeah.
Has
I think
no budget right now to fund YubiKeys for a team.
The hardware idea was specifically for a small subset of people. The discussion about the wider org was because it appears, at least in GitHub, that the policies that you can enforce are org-wide rather than at the team level, which is where it sort of encompasses more people. So yeah, I don't think that there was an actual serious suggestion that every collaborator or member of the org physical. But yeah, that the discussion started with physical and then sort of moved on to well, what we can't do that. What's practical? What could we do? And the only thing we could do is at the org-wise level, which is the discussion.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. The next issue, if there's nothing else. Okay. The next issue is issue 4039 of the build working group. Still, wow, a lot of build working group issues so far. Okay. From Ryan, potentially transition to 1Password for secrets management.
So I was on vacation last week, so I wasn't actually in the build working group meeting where this was discussed and then subsequently labeled TSC agenda. So I don't actually know why this has been labeled TSC agenda. It wasn't obvious to me from the issue itself. The general gist of this issue was we, in the build working group, currently store secrets in GPG encrypted Git repository in the private org. So, in order to get the secrets from build, you need a GPG key and you need to decrypt things with a GPG key. Some people find that it's not a normal workflow for them, so they would prefer things in like 1Password. And it probably makes sense for some of the some of the secrets which are like logins to accounts. There's no reason for those to be GPG encrypted. They could be in something like 1Password. But other things like physical, not physical, SSH keys and things that we put on physical machines, although you can pull those out of 1Password, there's no real difference as to where they're stored. And to be honest, Ryan started this from the point of view of security and what happens when someone leaves the build working group, but this proposal doesn't actually change that. The main difficulty we have in build is that when someone leaves, we're not currently rotating keys, which we probably should do more often. So the 1Password thing was an idea of okay, it's not actually going to improve security that much, but it might improve convenience for getting logins and things. And then one of the questions that came up is, okay, the project has a 1Password account. Everyone on TSC has hopefully at least seen it or aware that they've got access to 1Password. But one of the questions that came up is that currently the TSC as a whole do not have access to all of the secrets owned by the build working group. So for example, most general TSC members do not have access to our Cloudflare account, so they can't go in and point Node.js.org to some random IP address. Not that I think anyone on the TSC would do that, but just from a exposure point of view, the number of people that have actual access to some of the secrets of build is limited to the build infra team. Whereas if we move secrets to the current 1Password account, everyone that's a owner in 1Password, which I think is everyone on the TSC, even if you create a vault in our project and say this is a build vault, I think all owners can see the vault because they're an owner of the 1Password, I don't know the terminology, organization or whatever it is. So in build, we were talking about, do we need a separate 1Password account for build that, means that, the wider org won't have access to it. But I don't know then why this has been pushed to the TSC. So I don't know why this is on the TSC agenda, but that's the background, which is there's an idea to move some of the build secrets to 1Password, but then one of the questions is, are we happy about potentially widening the access to secrets, to a wider group of people? Even though we trust TSC, it is a wider group of people than, the small number of people in the build infra team. One of the suggestions was having it like a LF or OpenJS owned 1Password. So that probably makes more sense than that. Presumably that would still be a small number of people, but slightly wider with someone from the foundation, if build suddenly went AWOL. But yeah, I don't want to keep going in circles. I don't know why this has been put on the TSC agenda. So.
Okay, I am going to make a proposal. Okay, I think the 1Password solution on the Node side makes sense. Okay, to be honest though, I think we might want to consider dropping the TSC ownership on that 1Password to a limited number, a more stricter number of people.
Okay,
and that would solve the problem, okay?
Yes.
And without with a few having access, okay, we can decide who have access, but it's should be a handful of people to support redundancy, but not more than that.
Okay, that sounds like a reasonable idea.
Yes. To be honest, I don't think anybody here would mind if that's the case. Like, I don't want to have access. So if I already have enough access to modules used by a lot of people, that makes me a phishing. I receive a phishing email every day.
I think that's the main concern about the number of people. It's not that, we don't want, we don't trust people on the TSC to have access, but the smaller number of people that have access, then the less exposure we have. So
yes, I agree.
That's the reason that we're reluctant to just expand the scope of people without being conscious that that's what we would want to do.
Cool. Okay. Then we have issues 59096 in the Node.js node repo, and it's opened by James. We have no James. This has a bunch of +1s, but I would have loved for Yagith to participate. So if you don't mind here, like, this is a bunch of open things. There's a few comments from a few TSC members and other people, but no big red blocks. I am going to ping Yagith, who had a stale review, if they want to discuss this further, or are we comfortable to land this? Shengzheng.
I think there's no big red block on the progress because just now dismissed Yagi's stale review. I send the link here. So we might still need Yagi's participation in the discussion to dismiss his own review.
I'm going to ping. I'm giving Yagith a ping, okay? And please chime in on this topic. Are we all in agreement? Does anybody object to keep these on the agenda for another week? And then if no more discussion happens, no more objection happens, are we okay to land?
if I understand correctly, if your gig does not dismiss his own review, it means that he still request a change on the pull request, and this pull request is clarifying that we should not land the pull request without the change request to be dismissed or a formal vote.
Yes, but also is not engaging so far. So, and our process already says that if somebody does not engage, it's the objection can be dismissed. But if we want to go for a vote, we can go for a vote.
Let's wait for Yaki's and see what's happening in the next 7 days, maybe.
This topic.
I mean, to be honest, we have a procedure for these 7 days as pass. We can merge it and eventually send a follow-up PR if Yagis wants to amend anything. I don't see
Okay,
any
yes, this is
stall in
true.
this.
Yeah, I agree. I think 7 days has been passed since James' notification, so I think that's fine to land, to be honest. But yeah, waiting for a week is not a major problem as well.
I would say,
It's
but make it clear that after another week we merge, and if we don't get anything,
we are going to land after the next ESC meeting if you don't engage any further. Okay, I wrote 7 days has passed since just the notification. We are going to land after the next ESC meeting if you don't engage any further. Okay. Okay. I'm summarizing it, by the way. We are going to. Okay. And okay, updated the minutes. Okay, so now next one up is on Node.js/release, a proposal for shift Node.js annual major release and shortened LTS duration.
We are still discussing that on release working group. We are dealing with that asynchronously. We are still planning to create some proposals and a list of constraints for the next proposal. So I think we don't need to discuss that now, as it normally we won't take any action or take any decision from that. So I would say that to keep that on the agenda, just to give you updates regularly on that, but there's no need to discuss that extensively in the meeting.
Okay.
Should we keep it on the agenda though until you actually have a proposal?
Yeah, I believe that it's good to have on the agenda because the release working group, we have meetings once per month. So having this on the TSC agenda is just a reminder of the ongoing tasks. We don't need to discuss, but it's good to give a follow-up every week, I guess.
Okay, put it up.
Perfect. Okay. Next issue is the self-nominating for the moderation team of James, issues 1773. And Antoine has opened an issue to set up the vote, which I'm going to land now because it has no objection. So, okay, landed. So I would say vote vote is now open. Thanks, Antoine, for setting it up. Okay. Next issue is issue 1763 of the TSC repo, interim TSC elections. I think we do have results finally. So actually, this probably should have gone to the announcements. Okay, so I'm very happy to announce that Rui Adorno and James Al are the new vice chair, and I am going to be chairing. Hello, hi everybody, and hi Rui, and so on. And I'm going to close this meeting, this issue. Cool. Okay, here we go. Next issue is issue 1754 of the Node.js TSC repository, which is update charter with communication responsibilities, which was proposed by Darshan, who is in the call, and objected by James. I don't know. This was essentially stalled for a lot of reasons. So I don't know how we want to proceed with that.
We had some rounds of sync discussions in the other TSC meetings, and James said that he would take another look. So I'm waiting for that. And Matteo, you said that you also had some wording suggestions. So I'll look forward to that.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Then next one up is issue 1747, self-serve model for funding Node.js work.
For this one, I can say that James shared an alternate proposal, and I shared the link in the chat. So I'd suggest that if you're interested, go through that proposal and share any comments if you have, and we can have a sync discussion when we have James in the call. Also want to mention that this proposal has some changes related to the Node.js website. So I remember, Matteo, you shared some suggestions based on, I mean, there were some constraints from the marketing team. So I'm not sure if it's applicable for this. So yeah.
I need to look at James' suggestion. So once we clarified that is something that we want to do, we can ask the marketing team if this matches the it fits our non-profit status and so on and so forth. So let's take a look at that. Okay.
Sounds good.
And next one up is let's talk about the CI situation, issue 1614. Nothing to add. Okay, let's keep it in the agenda. Okay, next issue is issue 20 in the web team repo. And this is actually quite interesting. This was opened by Aviv 3 weeks ago, and it's a change in governance, so we should approve. Let me check if we have a quorum here. 8, 9, 10. I think we don't have full quorum, so we can't approve this technically. I'll send an email, okay? Because we are 22. So no, we don't have quorum in the meeting, so we can't really approve this this one. I'm going to send an email and ask for TSC member to participate. By any chance, does the people attending have any objection for that happening? The issue is essentially removing the web standard responsibility from the web team, which I absolutely agree.
Me too.
Okay. Okay, no objection from the current. Okay, I am going to drop a meeting and to see if there are any objections. In case, Rui, I leave it to you to approve it next week. Okay.
Good.
Okay. Bye, Ruben. Okay, I think that's all for today. And so thank you all for watching. I don't think we have any private business, or is there any private business, Rafael, related to security?
No, all good.
All good. Okay, so there's no private business for once. I'm very happy. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and see you in a few weeks, because I'm going to be out for the next 2 weeks. So, hey, bye, folks. Bye, bye, bye.
Cheers, folks.
Bye.